Hi, my name is Nicole, and thank you so much for joining me for another flow. Today we're going to be doing a gratitude flow. Today is World Gratitude Day, so to celebrate we're going to be doing a lot of heart openers. There's going to be a lot of cueing to bring us back to a really grounding, gratitude-esque kind of energy, and that's more so the theme for today. Just really taking a moment to step back and say thank you. As cliche or quick as it may seem, it's truly something that's so overlooked so often and can really make a genuine positive impact in our lives. I know it has for me. So today we're going to channel some of that energy into our movements, into our breath, and into our cueing and shavasana. So we will go ahead and get started in easy pose. But we're going to take easy pose just a little bit differently. So we are going to start with hands on the knees, sitting up nice and tall, maybe closing the eyes here for just a moment. And taking just 2 deep breaths in through the nose and out through the mouth. And then this flow will also be about 25 minutes, give or take, at beginner level, and you can always have blocks at the ready if you would like. We're going to inhale, bring hands up overhead. I know we typically do this at the end, but we're going to start here. And between our hands, before we close them, we're going to imagine things we're grateful for, or just one thing. Okay, so for example, you could be grateful for your ability to move, grateful for body, okay? Once you have it, close it in between your hands. And as you exhale, bring it down to heart center. Take your right hand, place it on the heart. Left hand, place it over the right. And just hold it here. Thinking on the gratitude for that thing or a couple things as you breathe 2 more breaths. Letting the warm, radiant energy of thankfulness wash over the body. Very good. And let's take that energy and flow with it. So inhale, bring those hands up. Right hand comes down to the mat. Left hand comes to the opposite side of the neck, or the head, the right side of the head. Gently bringing the right ear down or the left ear down to the left shoulder. Walk out the right hand if you'd like to get a little bit farther, and if you want a block, you can take one just to shorten the distance that the hand has to be off the mat. And we'll hold here. Breathe. If you find the mind starts to wander, bring yourself back to not that intention, but what you are grateful for, and let that be the thing that fuels your practice today. That radiant energy of gratitude. One more breath here. Good. Release. On inhale, bring the head back to neutral, hands back to the knees, and we'll just switch sides. So this time the right hand is grabbing the left side of the head, left hand walks it out. You can use a block if you did on the other side. Breathe here, remembering to come back to those thoughts of gratitude. Good. Release. On the inhale, bringing the hands right back to the knees, and we're going to take it to some rotations in the hips. So we're going to lean forward slightly and start to rotate to the left, taking some hip circles here, some torso circles, I should say. We're going to do 3 on each side, so it doesn't matter which way you started. And just again, reminding ourselves to come back to that energy that we are trying to bring into the rest of our flow, that energy of gratitude. And if things come up for you during your practice that are different than the thing that you were grateful for in the beginning, that's okay. Be aware of those feelings that come up, of those thoughts that come up, and allow them to be there for just a moment. Say thank you and move right on. Flow with them, as it were. Facing the top of the mat, if you were not already, we're going to bring our hands down, feet directly behind us. We're going to come to a little bit of a tabletop here, and we're going to start in cat and cow. So dropping the belly, lifting the gaze, big breath in. Exhale to round, contract through the spine, and 3 more times. Dropping the belly to lift the gaze. Inhale and exhale, round, contract through the spine. Good. 2 more flows here, whatever pace is feeling good for you. And of course, invite in any little movements that feel good. Maybe that's making some circles. I know I personally enjoy rocking back and forth a couple times. Whatever feels good for you, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid of it. We're gonna jump into some heart openers. So we're gonna walk the hands out a little bit farther and shift the lower body forward. From here, we're going to come into a little bit of a cobra. So for this one, if you want to start a little bit lower, you can have a nice little bend in the elbows. And then as you notice a little bit more of the low back opening up a little bit, pressing away from that mat and coming into a height that's comfortable for you. So we're untucked in the toes, pressing the tops of the legs and the feet into the mat, gazing forward. Heart openers are wonderful activators for the chest or the heart chakra. Heart chakra is where gratitude is really, really powerful, and it's quite a strong association, as well as the color green. So fun fact. Take 2 more deep breaths here. Very good. You are going to exhale, lower down to the mat, tuck the toes, lift straight up, coming into our first downward facing dog. Wonderful. Gentle reminder that if the feet do not touch the mat, that is okay, or I mean the heels, of course the feet are touching the mat. If the heels aren't touching the mat, that's totally fine. No need to stress about it. We are going to start to walk the dog to begin. So just walking out the heels, alternating as we go. Maybe you dip the chest towards the knee that's bent as you walk a little bit to really emphasize the stretch in the alternate leg. If you want a little bit more support for wrists in this posture, feel free to use some blocks under the hands at the lowest setting or the second lowest setting, whatever feels good for you, and that will help take off just a little bit of stress. You can also shorten the stance of your downward facing dog, so feel free to do whatever feels right, okay? One more breath here. Very good. So coming back to a neutral downward facing dog, we're going to start on the left side. So right foot is going to stay on the mat. Left foot is going to kick back straight up as high as you can make it, really pulling that chest down towards that right leg. You can even point your toe if you'd like. And as you exhale, bring that knee in, step that foot in between the hands, and then you can exhale when it's ready, when it's time. Lower that back leg, coming into a low lunge. Now, for this low lunge, you're more than welcome to use a block under the hands to give you that little bit of height. Totally up to you. Or you can just come up onto the fingertips. So you have a couple options here. Gazing forward past the top of the mat, we are going to hold this low lunge here. If you want to make this pose a little bit more challenging, you can kind of push off from the mat, keeping the lower half as is. Bring the hands behind the back and pull the heart forward. And again, really activating that heart chakra here, really activating that energy of gratitude. Whichever variation you're taking, holding 2 more deep breaths. Good, and on the next exhale, hands turn back to the mat. You want to take a little twist. Tuck the back toes, lift the back leg. Right hand stays on the mat or the block. Left hand comes up. Take a little bit of a twist here. Looking up towards the left hand if that's available to you. If this is a little bit too much on the shoulder, you can bring the hand to the hip or behind the back. Whatever works for you. Here, 2 more breaths. Making sure again that knee is stacked over that ankle in a nice beautiful straight line. Good. On the next exhale, we're going to go ahead and lower that down. We are going to step back and bring the body into a plank pose, okay? Once we're in our plank pose, we're going to take a little bit of a flow here. So we're going to exhale, lower all the way down to the mat, all the way down. Untuck the toes, press up. We're going to come into our cobra once more. Exhaling all the way down to the mat, tucking the toes and lifting through the legs and the hips to downward facing dog. We're not going to take a child's pose just yet. We're going to keep going on the other side. Of course, you can always take child's pose at any time, but left leg is going to stay on the mat. Right leg is going to kick up. That 3-legged dog once more. Make some space. Don't be afraid to lift that leg as high as it can go. And on the next exhale, guide that knee forward through the hands. Knee over the ankle. Exhale. Left knee comes down to the mat, coming up onto the fingers or blocks. Holding here, 3 deep breaths, catch a breath. Remember, you can always take that variation, so whatever you did on the first side, we're gonna go ahead, do it again. If this is a little bit too much on the shoulders, by the way, you can always bring the shoulders or the arms out, kind of making like a right angle, and you can open the chest that way, as well as bringing hands to hips and just kind of engaging the scapulas together, okay? Good. On the next exhale, hands come back down to the mat. Tuck the back left foot, lift that back knee, left hand stays in the mat, right hand comes up towards the sky, glancing up at that right hand if we are able, doing whatever we did on the last side on this side. Coming back to what we were grateful for, what is fueling our practice if needed at any time. It is available to us. Good. On the next exhale, right hand comes down. Inhale, step that leg back, come into our plank, and we'll flow once more. So exhale all the way down to the mat, keeping those elbows in. Untuck the toes and press up to come to cobra. Exhale down, tuck the toes, lift through the legs and the hips to return to our downward facing dog. To gently lower the knees to the width of the mat. Big toes touch, hands were walked forward, and you melt the chest down towards the mat to come to child's pose. If you'd like a little bit more support in your child's pose, you can always place a block under the forearms, under the hands, to give yourself a little bit more reach. You can also place this block under the pelvis to give your pelvis a little bit more support in this pose. So totally available for whatever kind of variation you would like there. And we're going to hold that child's pose about 6 deep breaths. If it's a little bit much on the arms, you can also stack one forearm on top of the other and rest the head there. Really allowing the chest to melt down towards the mat. Emphasizing those heart openers here. Coming back to what we were grateful for in the beginning of our flow, noticing how it's really fueled our practice. And just allowing ourselves to think on gratitude and what we are so thankful for. Maybe in this moment we're thankful for our bodies and the ability to move them in this way, in challenging ways that feel good. Maybe we're grateful for our minds that allow us to try new things, that allow us to try these things that may be challenging, but we overcome them nonetheless. And maybe we're grateful to ourselves for showing up today and doing some work for ourselves, purely for ourselves and no one else. A couple more breaths here as we take a nice little rest. Very good. If your hands were stacked one on top of the other, I'll invite you to reach them forward. You can always grab your blocks. You're going to bring your feet directly behind you, and you are going to lift up, rounding through the back. Sending the feet behind you, coming down into a cobra to come down into a sphinx pose. Sphinx pose is forearms framing the chest. A little gentle hip chest opener here. Still a chest opener nonetheless. Make sure in this pose that we're really thinking of lifting and lengthening, not collapsing into our chest and shoulders, pressing the tops of the legs and feet into the mat. Really active here. Just a couple more breaths. Very good, and let's go ahead and lower all the way down to the mat, bring the hands to frame the chest, and we're going to come out of this the same way we came into it. So we are going to round through the back, lift, come into tabletop. Once you're in our tabletop, we're going to transition to a nice seated pose. So we're just going to bring the legs out to one side, take a seat, and then bring the right leg first directly in front of us, taking a seated tree pose. So the left foot is directly above where the knee is, on the inside of the thigh. We are square at the hips. Toes for the right foot are flexed towards the head. We're going to bring hands up, inhale, big breath in, hinging at the hips to exhale and fold. Now I want this to be really passive through the upper back, so you can even allow your hands open on the floor, palms facing up towards the ceiling, open to receiving, and just letting the back kind of round in the upper spine. Still flexing through those toes. Good. You can flip the hands over, lift yourself up through the fingers, walk them in towards the body. Left hand comes behind the left leg, and we are just going to lift our hips, imagining someone's pulling us by a string. Right hand comes up and over for a little baby wild thing here. You can also place a block under this left hand. The left leg is still down on the mat, supporting us here. And exhale, lower back down. Bring the left foot to meet the right, coming into a staff position here just for a moment. 2 deep breaths here. Good. On your next exhale, right leg comes in. We're just switching sides. Inhale, hands up when you're ready. Exhale to fold. And again, this is a very passive fold forward in the upper back and in the spine. Let's just breathe here. You might notice as you hold this pose that your body starts to naturally come closer to the leg, meaning you're making space here. Very good. Again, flip the palms, lift up through the fingertips, walk the hands in. Right hand comes behind the right knee. Press to lift up through the hips. Baby wild thing, last time. Very good, and exhale to take a seat. This time, instead of bringing the body back to staff position, we're going to bring our right foot, or knee, up and in, and then we're going to guide that foot onto the outer left side of the left leg. Taking the left hand, we're going to wrap it around that right knee, right hand comes behind, and we look over our right shoulder here, a little twist, 3 deep breaths. Coming back to our intention, our gratitude. If we find the mind starting to wander, good, release that hold, return to staff just to switch sides. So this time, left foot is on the outer right edge of the right leg. Right hand wraps around the left leg. Left hand comes behind, look over that left shoulder. Couple breaths here. And then again, we're thinking of lifting and lengthening here. Very good. Returning to center, returning to that initial staff pose, only to scoot our sit bones down towards the bottom of the mat as we walk ourselves to lay down. So the feet are still planted firmly on the mat. Knees are pointed up towards the ceiling. We have just a couple more poses that we're going to take today. First one being hands framing the hips. And imagining we're going to take a bridge pose, so we're going to imagine someone pulling us up by a string again by the hips as they lift and lift and lift up off the mat, tucking the shoulders slightly under, again pulling that chest torso forward, holding here with the knees in line with the hip, 3 deep breaths. Very good. Exhale, lower back down to the mat. Last pose, taking the feet off the mat, grabbing hold of the feet or the ankles, whichever we can grab. Pulling the knees in towards the armpits. Happy baby. Feeling the energy of your practice today. Guided by that gratitude. You can release the legs, getting ready to come into our shavasana. You can bring the feet all the way down towards the bottom of the mat. Hands, palms up, facing the ceiling. Or you can bring each foot out to the width of the mat, allowing the knees to fall into each other. You can even take shavasana seated upright, if that is more comfortable for you. So we'll gently start to Relax the body, beginning by closing the eyes very gently. Maybe we start by blinking them closed. The mouth is not tense and the jaw is not tight. If you feel a tightness, maybe parting the lips to soften. The shoulders are not shrugged up towards the ears, they are relaxed and in their neutral position. Hands are open towards the ceiling, open to receiving. And as we are here and as we breathe, I'm just going to give you some affirmations of gratitude. So you can think on them, you can take what serves you, leave what doesn't, as we sit in this meditative little ending to our practice. Thank you for the ability to move my body. Thank you for the ability to wake up today. Thank you for another day on this earth. Thank you for the air that I breathe every single day. Thank you for my health. Thank you for my happiness. Thank you for my experiences, both good and bad. Thank you for the health and happiness of my loved ones. Thank you for having me here now and in this moment. Thank you for the health and happiness of our children. Thank you for the health and happiness of our animals, our friends, our furry friends. Thank you for blue skies, sunshine, and the sun and stars. Thank you for nature and the great outdoors. Thank you to Mother Earth and all she provides. Thank you for me and allowing me to have all of these experiences. Thank you for the path that led me here and leads me to where I will go next. As you start to really bask in those affirmations, take one more deep cleansing breath. And on your next inhale, you can gently start to wiggle fingers and toes. Maybe you blink the eyes open as you're ready to get used to the light again. And whenever you're ready, you can roll over onto one side and meet me in any seated position that is comfortable for you. We will close today's practice by inhaling, lifting hands up overhead, and holding everything that we are so incredibly thankful for in our hands as we bring palms to close. Exhaling all of that down to our heart center, our gratitude center, our center where it never leaves. And then bowing forward, namaste. It is done. And thank you so much for being here. I am so incredibly grateful for all of you, and I'm so thankful that you decide to spend a little bit of your time here with me, saying yes to yourself. So thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and come back to this flow anytime you want to practice a little bit of gratitude.